So in order to do this in an orderly fashion, I think if you're hoping to either testify or show your support, ask you to get in line. Once we get past 5 or 6 people in line, I think we'll just show hands. Is that all right with the committee? Thank you. So I asked if we can clear this portion of the room so we can create a line for people that are hoping to speak to the room.
So I'd like to. My name is Joseph Bortka, and I'm the reason all these people are here.
Yeah, hold on a second. You have to be recognized as speaker.
Sure.
So if we could clear that portion so we can create a line. Just move back a little bit, we can create a line right here. I want to make sure everybody can see participation.
Support and opposition?
No, we'll just do opposition because you all are going first, or whoever's the opposition, right?
Yes, we're the opposition.
So if you're hoping to speak and you're opposing the proposed rules, I would ask that you line up over here. And then if we have an idea of how many people are going to go on that side, I would like to divide the time evenly. But if you all have you have a little bit of discretion if you all want to allot somebody more time than others.
So, I just gotta recognize me first.
I guess I would ask, do you want more time allotted to one person, or do you want that?
Can I make an opening statement first?
I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
Do you want the time allotted evenly between people, or do you want more time allotted?
I believe myself, and Mr. Bookwalter here have prepared statements that we're prepared to discuss the.
Okay. Understanding that, is there anyone else that might want to speak? Okay, so then we'll 10 minutes on that side for split evenly, or however you may want between the two. Do we know how many people want to speak in support? 2, I saw 6, so we'll do the same thing. We'll split that time evenly, and we will stop at 10 minutes. So I will give you a warning at 90 seconds. Is that fair? And I don't think I'll need to do that for you all. So. Okay, with that, I will allow for public comment. I will allow for public comment. So that will be part of your public comment.
So,
Can somebody time this?
first up, I would like to just clarify the role of the Rules Committee in relation to the convention. And that is, the Rules Committee is to recommend rules to the convention, but the convention does have the final authority. And so if we are not given the time to adequately make our case, then we have the authority as delegates of this body to take it up to the floor. So we would appreciate a motion to allow myself and Mr. Bookwalter to complete our prepared statements. Second. It's all up to the committee to do that. None of you guys have the authority to do that.
It's only 2 of us, and it's not a lot. It's under 10 minutes for
It
each.
might be 15 minutes for both of us.
Mine is timed out at 7 minutes. or 8
You're
minutes.
wasting time, read your statements, please.
But we need to, this is a.
We'll use some discretion. Just go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I stand before you today with the conviction of a man who is starting his family in the midst of a decaying nation. We're losing our way, and I'm not being hyperbolic in saying that we are at war for the soul of our party. In the wake of COVID, the Indiana GOP emerged with its grounding in biblical principles, respect for tradition, appreciation for free enterprise, and rugged individualism as the party of the people. After a long slumber, the people have awoken, faced with an overwhelming threat coming from sinister internationalist megalomaniacs who believe that American liberties are antiquated relics of a bygone age, only serving to hinder progress. The people have become aware that we must act now or we will lose our country.
Amen.
Our party from its infancy, while not without its sins, began as the party who fought to free the slaves and supported biblical marriage. Yet even now, we have elements which threaten to rot us to the core with moral relativism, disrespect for the Constitution, cultural pluralism, and cronyism. This is a call for reformation. The cost of inaction is dire. If we continue down the path we are headed, we will continue to erode what little public trust exists in our institutions. And while we try to go full steam ahead on economic development, hoping to make Indiana wealthy, Any economist worth his salt will tell you that trust is the source of wealth in any functioning society. We may find our poverty creeping up on us as a sinking ship with sailors desperately bailing water to stay afloat. The path forward may be difficult, but what is at stake is whether or not we keep our constitutional republic alive. It means sacrificing the short term for the long term. It means each of us taking personal and individual responsibility for our duty to assure the Constitution is respected and maintained, even when it is inconvenient. It means getting out of our comfort zone, taking ownership over our republic, and choosing small constitutional battles where they arise, even against decades of organizational inertia. We must regain the fundamental principle of our founders that rights come from God, not from government. The Constitution merely acknowledges them. This principle is enshrined in the 9th Amendment to our federal Constitution, that the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. We must begin to rebuild trust in our institutions. Not an absolute trust that our founders would abhor, but the kind of trust based on people holding common values, knowing they're framed before God, yet having the faith to do what is right. Insofar as the Indiana Republican Party is concerned, building trust means holding in high esteem the promises made to voters when they vote Republican. Our platform is an implicit agreement to voters that if they put their trust in us enough to vote for our candidates, that we will honor that trust and implement those policies. Amen. This is fundamental. These resolutions represent the attempts of numerous citizens to get involved in the political process and who as of yet feel like they've been ignored. Amen. Article 1, Section 31 of the Indiana Constitution states, "No law shall restrain any of the inhabitants of the state from assembling together in a peaceful manner to consult for their common good, nor from instructing their representatives, nor from applying to the General Assembly for redress of grievances." Yes. Do you believe that you are all here peacefully assembled for our common good? Yes. These people woke up to the train wreck we are headed for and decided they were going to do something about it instead of sitting on the sidelines. Many of them are working class, unpolished, and unrefined, but they share a commitment to the values of our party, whether they always know the appropriate channels or not. And sometimes, having no context other than the Constitution, they see with new eyes aberrant constitutional abuses, which the old guard blindly accepts out of custom. We must work to integrate these newfound allies who just a few years ago were uninformed and disinterested voters. For now, they have the potential to become some of our most enthusiastic activists, but they won't be sold if the cost is their principles. Amen. These resolutions also represent an attempt to restore the proper hierarchy of authority to our country, our state, and the party's governing structure. If we mean to change our country for the better, we must first look inward to our own party and get our own house in order. This starts with understanding the purpose of our party, and that, I submit to you, is to advance the policy our members desire, put together generally as our platform, and specifically as the need arises in public statements from our party polity, directing our Republican office holders on the will of those who helped to send them there.
Just real quick, you're at 6 minutes. I did say we'd use some discretion.
The highest governing authority of this polity just so happens to be the state convention. This is affirmed in the first rule of our party rules, which states that our state committee, the rulemaking body in the party organization, is, and I quote, subject to the Republican Party of the state of Indiana in convention duly assembled. This means a number of things. First and foremost, it means that the state committee cannot infringe on the rights of the delegates in the convention through any rule that it passes, of which these proposed rules violate several. The convention is the final authority on party business because the state committee's authority flows from it. This also means that as a deliberative body, delegates have generally accepted rights to participate in the deliberative process. This includes making motions, debating issues, and voting on whatever business is in front of the body. Therefore, I contend that whenever an issue is pressing to the Republicans of the state, which has not been adequately addressed by our elected officials, it is not only a right, but a duty of the party to its members for the delegates of the highest governing body in the organization to clarify its expectations with regard to our Republican elected officials' priorities. Of course, a convention has its constraints. This is not a dispute. 1,800 people can make for a particularly disorderly situation if the appropriate controls have not been put in place. We have proposed our own set of rules and procedures for this convention, including a debate which, although not done much in recent history, is a right reserved to the delegates under commonly understood principles of parliamentary law. The rules acknowledge this point and constrain, the rules we have proposed acknowledge this point and constrain debate in ways used by our own legislatures, such as the time limits that they're using right now. I will wrap this up by saying that if these are not appropriately addressed by the Rules Committee, we reserve our rights as delegates to petition to the full convention to make our case. The rules proposed by the party are atrocious and contradictory, and are obviously an attempt to violate the authority of the convention with subordinate rules, which fails on its merits. It is a maxim of law that in the presence of the superior power, the inferior power ceases. No rule made by the state committee can contradict the authority of the Indiana Republican Convention when duly assembled. We have done the work for you and presented rules for you to recommend, which hold to the spirit of parliamentary law and fairness. And have you handed them the copies yet? I emailed these to them today as well, and other relevant things previously. Our requests are reasonable, limited, and made within the perfect forum to address these concerns for the entire party. As delegates, we reserve our rights to fully participate in the proceedings before us. The time to finish his statement. I went long, but he has a perspective from being overseas in combat zones that you all need to hear.
We're gonna, so, since I already moved it, I wanna make sure that we're doing everything properly. I think we should, there's only two people have volunteered or asked to speak, so I think we use discretion. You said 7 minutes.
Yes.
I make a motion for 7 additional minutes for opposition to be allowed to speak.
Sure.
Okay, take that by consent.
Thank you, Committee. My name is Charles Wolfwalter. I'm from Boone County, and I'm a precinct committeeman and a delegate. A quick internet search will show you not only the stages of the fall of an empire, but you also find polls and articles documenting the lack of faith in U.S. government institutions. Now, personally, when confronted with that fact, my initial reaction is that we're Americans, and we were warned to not have faith in our institutions. That our government was instituted among men only to protect our God-given natural rights. But we are far from that warning, and instead of being a government of, by, and for the people, we've become a government of bureaucrats, by a corrupted ruling elite, and for the politically connected. Faith in U.S. government institutions is at an all-time low and has dropped precipitously since 2020, including institutions like the medical establishment, our legislative bodies, and our elections. And I'd like to briefly discuss these three institutions as they are three resolutions that are in that packet you see there. In Indiana, where we Republicans have a supermajority and control of all three branches of government, we were subjected to lockdowns, mask mandates, and vaccine requirements to keep a job, go to school, or stay in the military. A recently published article in the periodical Science Advances called Epidemic Outcomes Following Government Responses to COVID-19, Insights from Nearly 100,000 Models concluded this, quote, "We find no clear connection between government COVID policies and outcomes." It further states, quote, "In summary, we find no pattern in the overall set of models that suggest a clear relationship between COVID-19 government responses and outcomes. Strong claims about government responses' impact on COVID-19 may lack empirical support," end quote. Not to mention, the face of the pandemic, Anthony Fauci, last week's recent testimony in Congress admitting to the made-up social distancing requirements or the recent withdrawal of multiple COVID jabs from the market due to high incidences of injuries. This medical intervention was mandated and is now being pulled from the market only months later. This emergency mandate on Hoosiers was pushed by a Republican governor and should have been answered with an emergency legislative session correcting this abuse of power and protecting the people's inherent rights. And
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
And as we know, it was not, and is why this resolution is important. Similarly, election integrity is being questioned all over the United States. And why wouldn't it be? Because of the so-called pandemic, how we vote was completely changed. And because of the heavy hand of government during that time, ballot access laws here in Indiana, like Indiana Code 3827, were changed, it appears, not to stop party raiding, but to keep concerned conservative Hoosiers from running for any office, including precinct committeeman or delegate, and protecting incumbents from an inevitable challenge in the primaries.
We're tired.
Our Constitution says elections shall be free, equal, on one day, and on paper ballots.
Yes.
Constitutional amendment to change that. And although we can look back historically and compare the equality of these elections, we can just look what I believe is 2 years ago at the convention where voting was conducted on paper ballots. And if all elections are equal, how is this one on voting machines equal to the one 2 years ago? And this can be fixed right here
Right now.
today because there's only one contested vote anyway. I'm almost done here. Thank you for your time. A recent Rasmussen, it's important because a recent Rasmussen survey of likely voters conducted in the United States on June 5th, 6th, and 9th of 2024 showed that 2/3 of voters are worried that cheating could affect this year's election, and many of them still do not trust electronic voting machines. In 2022, 50% of respondents said cheating is likely to affect the outcome of the midterms, and in 2024, that went up 16%. 66% responded that they are concerned that cheating will affect the upcoming presidential election, and these are reasons these resolutions are so important.
Amen.
And the lack of trust in our Congress and our legislature, which are responsible for taxation and controlling the budget, have appallingly low approval ratings. And why might this be? Well, in Indiana, it could be. Because again, in a super majority Republican state, we have gone all in on green energy policies and central planning called economic development that has serious impacts on property values and property taxes. We are seeing this in high inflation and increased property taxes, while a few politically connected large farmers and big businesses get massive payoffs, like in Boone County, where a farmer received $34 million for 80 acres of land. That is $425,000 per acre, and it's public record, you can go look it up. That has an impact on everybody. And it's happening all over the state and will only get worse as the IEDC is not being reined in our so-called limited government run by Republican leadership. System shows how unserious. One more thing.
Please let him finish. We will take this to the floor if we need to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair.
Don't jump to conclusions, please.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The current property tax system shows how unserious our leadership is in protecting our God-given rights to property. And this property tax resolution helps resolve that. So lastly, I've been told that I should remind the committee and anyone here listening, which I thought would be about a dozen people, what it looks like when citizens have lost faith in their government. As a Green Beret, I witnessed firsthand what it looks like. I have seen the chaos, death, destruction, and lawlessness in other countries. Banana republics are what we call them. It is very dangerous, and I want to remind everyone here that the U.S. is not immune to that scenario. That is why our strict adherence to state and federal constitutions are so important. And these resolutions are the beginning, and we humbly request the committee recommends adoption of the rules proposed by Mr. Boardka. Thank you very much.
So, not sure what was said, but I'm not sure if it was appropriate. So I was planning to do committee comments and questions after everyone was done, but in hearing, I think it would be appropriate if we take comments and questions from the committee now for this side. And I will lead off. First of all, I would like to say thank you for your testimony, for your comment. I appreciate you all making the time to be here. As I've said to some of the members on this committee, we all have jobs where we are paid to be there, and we are here. I really appreciate you all making the time. So I want to thank you. Also,
We appreciate you guys.
I want to be clear to thank the last presenter. I'm forgetting names. I'm sorry for the service. I would also say I think there's a lot of things people in this room agree on, but we also have a job to do to ensure that we do our statutory duty as committee, as convention. So the rules as proposed, in my opinion, do the best job of allowing and threading the needle on allowing debate on certain motions, but also completing the job that we are set up to do. So I wanted to make sure to make myself clear on that front, but also thank everyone for being here and for making the time and for spending the time to prepare your testimony. Any other comments or questions from the committee? Ellen?
Yeah, quick question. And first of all, yes, thank you everyone. Joseph, thank you for providing us with this draft ahead of time. I did take the time to review it. And one comment that I think there was, and they're not far off. The two drafts are not terribly far off.
I think they are very far off.
But one thing I did notice about,
We
and
did
that
not
I
interrupt
support
you, so I
in
asked you to interrupt that.
the proposed rules and that we've seen in the past is that if we debate before the elections occur, and if things last for hours and hours, we've seen in the past that people will leave. And that's not an effective system for voting. And so that's one reason why I would support the proposed rules. And again, appreciate the draft that you provided us, but I do think that is one issue that is addressed effectively in the proposed rules, and that's one of the reasons I'd like to support proposed rules.
May I respond?
Yeah.
We're gonna hear comments and questions from the committee. Anyone else?
I think that is a very important point that demands clarification.
Do we have any comments or questions?
I think there was one of the rules security, and the election security of this committee. Based on what we've seen from the election company, I believe we were given a letter. I'm comfortable with the security of this convention and the way that we're doing it. And I think for that reason, I'm supporting the rules as proposed.
Do the delegates trust the election systems?
No. Yeah, so, any further comments or questions from me? So, having said that, Don was able to take track of the time that we spent on this side. I believe it was 17 minutes. So, don't have to take all of it, but I would allow 17 minutes to the folks that are here to support the rules as proposed in the committee report. With that, I would take the line over here, and then we'll just go in order of how people get to the front. All right, let's not waste any time. One thing I didn't ask was to identify yourself. I think they did. So just go ahead and identify yourself, and then how many people do we have in line today? Please raise your hand.
You might be
Okay.
Are you wanting to speak? Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, you have my spot, buddy.
We'll go 90 seconds, maybe a warning, and then maybe we'll go 15 more seconds. So I think that will keep us under the time limit? Okay. Brad?
Good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. In the interest of time, I'll be brief. My name is Michael McQuillan, and I'm a delegate from Marion County. I've served as a delegate or a committee co-chair or a committee member and practically everything else at every Republican state convention since 1986. And over those years, I have seen a lot. That is why I'm asking this committee to please vote yes on adopting the drafted rules as written without amendments. The only job we have as delegates at this convention is to nominate candidates for Attorney General and the Lieutenant Governor. Our ballots will be safe, they will be anonymous, and they'll fulfill our only duty as delegates. I ask you to please vote yes to adopt the rules without adding amendments, which are designed only to prolong and confuse this process. And that's my remarks. Thank you.
1 minute.
No claps.
Good afternoon, committee. Jennifer Ping, I, like yourselves, volunteered for many years, 12 years in fact, on state committee, served on every committee, rules, credentials, even credentials at our national convention a number of times. First of all, thank you for your service to your district, to your county, and to the citizens of the state of Indiana, and to all Republicans. I personally appreciate it. I, like Michael before me, appreciate the current draft of the rules that were before you presented by state committee and urge your support of those rules. I also hearing some questions about the election equipment that's going to be used tomorrow. That is equipment that we use in Marion County. Certainly happy to have any questions from any of you individually about that. It is on paper ballot. They are secure. There is absolutely no reason to be concerned that your particular ballot could be read or understood by anybody else to be a secret ballot. Again, I'm here to answer any questions that you as the committee might have on the election equipment. And again, I urge your support of the draft of rules as presented to you. Thank you.
That's 1 minute and 10 seconds. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leah Angerman. I'm here to encourage you to support the draft rules without amendment. My name is Leah Angerman. I'm a delegate. I'm a representative state committee member from Lake County. Although the state committee doesn't have a portion of it, it was discussed informally in our meeting this morning, and the committee felt so strongly that they gave an informal but unanimous support for the rules as drafted without amendment. In order to protect the integrity of the convention by avoiding last-minute disruptive changes and honor the intent of the convention, which is simply to nominate someone for Attorney General and Lieutenant Governor in an orderly and efficient manner. While I don't see the need for the amendments, I acknowledge the process to allow for the matter to be brought before the convention floor and the delegation of the entire state of Indiana. This is not a year to change the platform, and it would be overreach for this committee to attempt to legislate from this room. Our best decisions are made after thoughtful debate and analysis. I fear rapid and sweeping changes that experiment with society or our party, and we are a party of conservatives. If you are true conservatives, I ask you to support the draft as written without amendment. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Beth Boyce, and I am the chairman of the Johnson County Republican Party. I have spent my whole life, I grew up in Benton County, where Greg is from, and my dad was the county chairman there, so I've spent my whole life as a member of the Republican Party. I would say right now, I spend time every single day working toward the goals of the Republican Party and helping elect conservatives in my county, in our state, and in our country. I appreciate the fact that as Republicans, we are independent thinkers, unlike the members of the other party who operate in a herd mentality and share the same talking points. I want to thank the members of the Rules Committee for serving and for their time today. Being here and having this debate is very important. Rule 723 of the state party rules states that the purpose of the state convention is to nominate candidates for the general election and to adopt a party platform in midterm election years. This is not a midterm election year, so our job is clear. The legislative process takes months, and in some cases years, to craft public policy. Our legislators are duly elected by the voters of our state. Any amendments or proposals to instruct or make specific demands of our legislators would be usurping the electoral process, and in my opinion, move the debate over public policy even further from the public. The rules allow for reasonable debate and amendments to be brought to the floor of the convention and give the delegates the power to make the decision. I urge the committee to remain focused and vote yes on adopting the rules without amendments. And really quickly, one last point. I just want to commend the speakers before. I don't know either of you, but I would just like to say to the room, there is power in numbers, and if we spend all of our time fighting against each other, we will have a hard time uniting and fighting against who the real enemy is this fall, and that's the Democrats.
That's what this is all about.
We're assuming majority now.
So we're at 5.5 minutes. So everybody knows.
Hello, thank you for your time. Mike Cross, delegate from Johnson County, here in my personal capacity. Conservative Republican, and I'm proud to be here this weekend along with 2,000 fellow Republicans as we do the job we've been tasked with to nominate our elected choices for Lieutenant Governor and Attorney General. The current rules as drafted accomplish this task. They do so fairly, efficiently, and securely. As this is not a midterm year, we are not tasked with creating a party platform. It would be inefficient and inappropriate to wade into various policymaking arguments when our job should be simple. Our votes on behalf of our prospective candidates will be the best way to express our opinions and to make an impact. It's counterproductive to our mission to engage in internal fighting, and doing so runs afoul of the scope of why we've gathered here. I ask that we focus on the mission at hand, do our jobs, pass the rules as drafted. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Richard Hart. I come from Marion, Indiana, and I'm a delegate from Grant County. I grew up with the motto, I like Ike. Now, for those of you who have no idea what that means, I was for President Eisenhower as a 6-year-old, walking down the street debating with my friends. For 38 years, I lived in the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan as a missionary. Never had the opportunity to participate in government. Retired, came back to the U.S. and became a participant in government. Ran for school board, lost, but more people voted for me than ever voted for me in my life, which was very encouraging. Ran a second time and I won. What I've discovered is that our county officials are remarkably careful when it comes to our elections. They are scrupulous with detail. So we in Grant County have tremendous trust in our county clerk and all the people there. So now I turn on my internet and I hear all of this continuing noise about people who are unsettled. I'm not saying it's just noise. It also is truth. There are places where there are problems. But I would like us to affirm the work of this committee. You spent the time, you did your due diligence. There'll be other opportunities for us to make changes in the future. And the people who are opposed to what you're doing, I think there's a process whereby they could be included in this committee in the future, isn't that correct?
The convention is the process.
No. And we would love to see that. But I affirm what you've done, and go for it, and be confident that there are thousands of us who believe that the process is working well. Thank you.
I would ask that you do not interrupt anyone anymore. Nobody did it to you.
Agreed.
Thank you, Chairman, and members of the committee for the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Drake Abramson. I'm a delegate from Marion County, young Republican of many years, former state college Republican chairman. And I just want to thank the other side for your opinions today. I know there's not a shortage of love for the Hoosier State and the United States in this room today. And that's really what this is all about. And the reason I ask for support of the rules as is today is that this is just drawing additional attention from the Democrats and coming across as us being so divided. This is a time to unite for the 2024 election, and we need to trust our party, the folks from the counties we're from, that they've done their due diligence to come together and put together good rules for this party so that we can deliver results. And I trust them that these rules will be a secure, fair, and good convention tomorrow. And I ask your support for these amendments, and that we unite as a party and deliver results and beat Democrats in November. Thank you.
My name is David Shelton. I'm the Knox County Chairman, and also the Knox County Clerk. Many things that have already been said before my predecessor stand in line, so I won't rehash everything. I just want to encourage you to adopt the rules as presented. I feel like the proposals, while sympathetic to some of their issues, it has nothing to do with convention rules. I think those are more state party rules or policy issues and not appropriate for this committee. Thank you very much.
I think we have, how much time do we have left?
We have about a little over 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Last speaker.
I won't take that long. Well, my name is Matt Huckabee. I'm a delegate. I am the Lawrence Township GOP chairman and former executive director for the Indiana Republican Party. I've spent the better part of the last decade working with them, understanding, learning, teaching to county party leaders, to grassroots leaders, to community leaders, how to work within these rules. Rule 723 of the Indiana Republican Party rules, which lay out the authority of this convention, are 100% clear what our job is to do tomorrow. It is to elect or to nominate our candidates for the election in the fall, and in midterm elections to pass a platform. I've heard a lot of conversation today about policy, and by the way, a lot of which I agree with. It is completely outside of the purview of this convention, for this convention. All would be great conversations as a part of a platform conversation. All would be good ideas to talk about with your legislators. That they are outside of the purview of this convention. We are a party, or I thought we were, of following rules and laws. And I believe that we should pass these rules as proposed, as they are the best way to efficiently carry out this election. I would tell you, I don't believe that the state convention has authority to pass resolutions. So even if we did that tomorrow, I don't believe that the state convention has authority. With that being said, these rules allow for an opportunity for that side of the conversation to be heard, to make their case to the delegates, and to let the will of the delegates be heard. And if the delegates support it, then there is an opportunity to consider those resolutions and move forward. These rules accomplish that, and they do it in an efficient and effective way. I would urge the committee to support these rules as proposed.
So there are 3 minutes left. I don't think they're necessary, but I just want to make sure that we keep this even-handed. Seeing none? Right here.
I'm new to all this process.
Yeah, identify yourself, please.
Yes. I'm Jeff Samolsky. I'm a first-time delegate. I'm new to the process, but to me, it sounds like there's a lot of tension in the room. I'm from Lake County. I also come from a long line of ice cream eaters. So I just think that these amendments we're talking about seems like the problem. So if we can conquer the amendments, I think we could all have unity in the room.
Thanks, sir.
You wanna pay my property taxes?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Could you define
Can you, what, say your first?
I'm Sharon Kirkham from LaPorte, and I remember Ike. I very well as a 6-year-old. But I have never in my life, I'm a former city councilwoman, I was vice president of my flight attendant union. I have never in my life heard of a permanent committee. What's that? How do you become permanent? It says permanent chairman, permanent.
No,
What
I'm
does
not,
that
I'm not
mean?
a permanent chairman.
It says permanent.
I think we're gonna move on. All right, so having seen out, after having heard out both sides, I would like to hear committee questions and comments after the side to support the rules as proposed, the committee report as proposed. With that, committee members. No question.
I'm just gonna go along with Ally. I mean, I think all the concerns of these people can't be ignored. I mean, we have too many people here that have those kind of concerns, and so I'm in favor of their concerns being expressed. Having said that, though, I think per the party rules, our principal job is to nominate the candidate for Lieutenant Governor and, of course, Attorney General. Consequently, I feel that the rules, as we have now looked at them from this committee, allow both. It's just a matter of timing. I think it shows what our principal job is first, and then gives the people the opportunity. That's why, I mean, I love all you guys being here, and I love the concerns that you expressed. I think this allows it, but still keeps our principal purpose first and then here. For those reasons, I will support the rules that have been presented by this committee, but hopefully so that you understand, I'm also for your concerns.
Any other comments, questions from the committee? Okay.
I have a general question about the rules. What's the difference between these rules proposed in 2024 contrasted with the rules that were enacted in 2020 or 2016? What's new about the rules, or why do we have to propose rules and have them voted upon by you folks? What's wrong with the rules that were voted on and proposed 4, 8, 16, 40 years ago?
Yeah, so I would say there is a piece of that, and I think I talked about that in my opening comments. There's a lot of different ways that these rules, a lot of different factors in how these rules were brought together. One of those was precedent. We do things the same way a lot of times, but things do change. 2020, there was a platform. 2024, there is not a platform. So that is one key difference in the rules. I don't believe the rules I don't have the historical knowledge. I was not chairman in 2020, but I don't think the rules in 2020 necessarily talked about the voting machines. But I have to keep order in this room. I want to see if there's any committee questions or comments before we move on to the vote.
Mr. Chairman.
I have responses to all of your concerns.
Just a point of clarity with the remarks by Ms. Bartlett and Mr. Weaver. I'm not sure I understand exactly what you said or what your position is. Were you saying that you agree that we do a primary responsibility, which is to vote for Attorney General and Lieutenant General, and then we hear these resolutions that you're suggesting?
I think it opens up for your motions after the election, and that's why I specifically asked them to be included that way in the rules, because there is that opportunity.
So we cannot continue to go back and forth on all these things. So, what I'm going to do, please, I'm going to allow one more question from you and from you. 1 minute. But we have to remain in order. We have to remain in order. We have to remain in order. I've been fair to both sides on this whole issue. The whole committee has been fair to this side. I've only been interrupted by a few people. Let me be very clear about that. I've not removed anybody from the room because I want to make sure that we have a debate on this. But we have to remain in order. Thank you. So 1 minute for questions from you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll just follow that line of questioning. I'm just trying to figure out, do the rules as written allow for these resolutions? Because it sounded like in the rules, I don't have a copy, they said that motions will not be allowed from the floor. So it seems.
Yeah, thank you for the question. The rules allow for a change in the rules that we adopt, if that is adopted, because you are right, we do have votes of all of our delegates. If that rule is adopted, then we can move on to resolutions. But again, we cannot have unlimited time. Ally made a very good point earlier. The main point of our convention this year is to nominate candidates for the election in the fall. We cannot argue over that. When things get postponed, people leave on both sides. Whoever you're supporting for lieutenant governor, people leave. That affects the outcome of elections. So these rules try to dignify that there is a disagreement about resolutions. And so we can debate early on. So the first thing that we would do after the elections are decided and nominees get to speak, there would be several minutes for each side to speak on it. But what we can't do is have several hours where then we just have 100, 200, 300 people making a decision. Maybe a different number than that. I'm just trying to give an example. So yes, these rules allow for that. Your question.
So first up, I just want to address the issue of the time limits. In the rules that I proposed, I very narrowly constrained debate to 10 minutes per side, and the for and against. And the other thing is, I hear a lot of appealing to subordinate rules and authorities from those proposing the other alternative rules. We're talking about the authority of the convention to direct the mission and vision of our political party. And it's clear in the rules. In Rule 1.1, it says that the state committee and all of the rules that they create are subordinate to the convention. And there's another issue, which is if the draft is what you guys have in front of you too, there's issues that would be fatal to the proceeding of the election, because it says that we're not going to debate the rules until after the elections have happened. So there's no convention until the rules are convened, the credentials committee reports adopted, and the agenda is approved. So if you conduct it the way that this draft that I was sent happens, there's going to be no elections proper in the procedure.
Thank you. With that, close with any committee questions or comments. Seeing none, do I have a motion to vote?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the rules.
We will do a show of hands. So all those in favor of passing the rules as proposed, please raise your hand.
Unanimous.
All those opposed? Sorry, moving on. All those opposed?
That's back here.
Yeah.
The motion to adopt the rules as proposed has passed. Is there any further business to come before the committee? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, please raise your hand. All right, thank you everyone for coming.
We can do something about this. You just please stay around after I'm going to come out and tell you guys exactly what we can do about it.